Hello everyone and welcome to Luminar Coffee Break. I'm Angela Andrieux and today we're going to talk about how to export images from Luminar AI for sharing on social media. There's a few tips that you should know as you're exporting your images, how you can make your images look their best on different social media platforms. I'll walk you through them today. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And we have an image up on the screen. Hey everyone, I'm not sure if you saw that I got cut off. Hopefully everything's good. I got a notice that the streaming stopped, so let me know in the chat if we're still connected, if everything's good. Hopefully the stream is stable today. I apologize if there's any issues. I want to take a moment to say hello, Russ. Glad you're able to join me today. And we're working with this image of a really cute dog in a handbag, and we want to share it on social media. So we've done a couple of quick edits, which I'll walk you through. Let me go ahead and right-click on the image. I'm going to go to adjustments and revert this to the original. So as I'm looking at this image, it's a little bit flat and there's some distractions on the side, and I want to bring this in a little tighter. I also want to warm it up and add a little bit more life to the image. So I'm going to start with a template, and I'll go with one for this photo and choose Animal Friends. Hey Jerry, hey Russ, thank you so much for letting me know that we're back. All good. Okay, so we're going to go with soft fur, and look how that just brightens up the image. It does such a beautiful job of warming it up, bringing out a little bit of detail. Looks good. We'll do a couple of other quick touches here with the edit tab. I'm going to add a bit more structure. So you can see by the dot next to structure, there's already some added with the template. I want to increase that a little bit more, bring out some of those added details in the background and whatnot. And I also want to add a vignette to really draw us into the subject. Now I'm skipping over cropping for the moment because we're going to go back and revisit that. And I want to crop the images so they'll look their best on different social media channels. So we will come back to that. But for now, let's go ahead and add a vignette. And I'm going to pull that amount slider down to -100. Pull that size down so it's a bit smaller, closer to the size of the dog. We'll make that a little bit more round. Again, we're trying to fit our subject there. Bring up the feather for a nice smooth transition, and we'll add a little bit of inner light. That looks great. Now we'll click on choose subject and move this vignette over a little bit so our dog is right in the center of that vignette. We'll finalize this by moving the amount slider back up to make sure this looks natural. There we go. And that just really draws us in really nice to our subject. I'll click on choose subject to go ahead and deselect that. And minus any cropping, this is our before and our after. So this looks really good, but that leads me to, okay, we want to send this to social media. How do we make sure it looks best on different platforms? Well, I've actually come across a great website from Hootsuite. They're a social media management tool. I don't personally use them, but they have a great article on their website on different image sizes that work well for different image platforms. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that link for you and copy it and paste that into the chat so you can go ahead and look that up and peruse that at your leisure. But if I scroll down, they have a really nice table here towards the top that gives you an overview on the best social media sizes for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We're going to look primarily at Instagram and Facebook today just because those are the two that I use the most, and I think a lot of people probably relate to that. If you're using other platforms, I encourage you to go through their recommendations, to check out their help articles and see what they recommend as far as image sizes that will look best on their platforms. Each one's a little bit different, and I know there's a lot of them out there, so we can't cover all of them today. Hey German, glad you're able to join us. All right, so we'll start with Instagram here. And if you remember, if you've been using Instagram for a while, it used to be only square images. So a lot of times while you can do a landscape or a portrait, I like to take my images on Instagram square. I feel like you get the best screen real estate when you do a square image. So I'm going to go ahead and crop my image in Luminar AI to a square. So we'll go to Composition AI, go to my ratio, and choose square. And move this around to where we get a good composition. I think right about there looks great. And now I want to export this so I can share it on social media. So what I'll do is I can go up to export and choose save to disk. And I'm going to put this on my desktop. I'm going to create a folder on my desktop. So let's go ahead and do new folder, and we'll call this social media. And I choose my desktop because that's usually an easy to find place. And I know that when I save something to my desktop, I use it and then typically get rid of it. So we'll create a social media folder and go ahead and click create. And now we have our image name up there at the top. I'm going to add a -IG so I know this is for Instagram. And let's go ahead and click back over to that article. And if we're looking at a square picture, they're recommending a 1080 by 1080. If you give them an image larger than that size, they're going to downsize it for you. And the problem with that is their downsizing is not necessarily going to be kind. I've seen so many times where somebody uploads a beautiful high resolution image to Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Instagram, Facebook, they do their thing, they down-res it, and then it looks terrible on social media, and I feel bad for them. So make sure you pay attention to these sizes so you get the best bang for your buck when you upload to those sites. So 1080 by 1080 is the size that we want to go. We'll go back over here to Luminar, and we can do either dimensions, which that'll allow us to put in 1080 by 1080, or because this is a square, you can choose long or short edge and also just put in 1080. Oops, not 770. There we go, 1080. There we go. For web, I typically choose sRGB. And for quality, I'm going to pull that down probably to about an 80. And that's about the point I've found where you can pull down the quality size, but it's not going to be noticeable to the naked eye. If somebody zooms in and gets in there and starts pixel peeping, yes, you can tell that there's been some degradation to the resolution, but you have to get in there, zoom way in. By pulling down the quality, it makes it so it looks good online, but somebody's not going to be able to print it. And so we're protecting that by two ways. The 180 pixel length is going to be small enough to where most people aren't going to want to print that. And then you pull down the quality just a little bit. Again, it'll look great online, but it's not going to look good if somebody goes and tries to take your image and print that without your permission. So I find that to be a good setting. We'll go ahead and hit save. And that's going to go ahead and export to my desktop. From there, because most of us use our mobile devices to transfer images to Instagram, I can use on my iPhone, I can airdrop that back to my iPhone. I can email it to myself, text it to myself, whatever easy way you have for transporting your images from your computer to your phone. If you have Dropbox or Google Drive, you can use those. If you have the app on your phone, load it into your Dropbox folder on your computer. It'll pop up on your phone. And then you can go ahead and share that to Instagram. And it's going to look much better than if you had done nothing to that image. You just shot it with your phone, did a quick edit on a 4-inch screen, and sent it off. This is a much, much better result. Okay, so let's do one for Facebook. So I'm going to switch back over here to my URL. Hello, Joseph. Glad you're able to join us today. Now let's take a look here at the Facebook column. We have dimensions for landscape, portrait, and square. In this case, we're going to take the landscape dimensions, and they're recommending 1200 by 630. So to go ahead and get that looking right, let's go back to our Edit tab. I'll go to Composition AI, and I'm going to go down to Enter Custom. And I'll enter 1200 by 630. All right, let's go ahead and click OK. And that gives us a really, really wide perspective. And you see that we have some of these distractions going on the side. So I'm going to pull this up, and I'm just going to try to make the best of this. Pull that in a little bit there. And that way our dog is still in the middle. All right, maybe right about there. Now, if I hit return on my keyboard, this looks pretty good, and I think it'll display nicely on Facebook. But this person's sweater over here on the side, I find to be a bit distracting. So I'll get not necessarily rid of it, but I'll tone it down a little bit more by using some dodge and burn. And we'll choose darken. I'm going to bring that strength down really low because I like to do several really soft strokes of the brush. It gives it a nice blend rather than using some really thick, harsh strokes. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to make my brush size bigger. I'm going to use the bracket keys on my keyboard, make that a nice, big, soft brush. And I'm just going to brush that in. You see it just very slightly starts to darken that side. We're just going to give it a few brush strokes over it. And now you almost don't even notice it. It's there, but it doesn't distract us. It doesn't pull us away from our subject. And this looks a lot better. So we can go ahead and click out of dodge and burn, go back over to our export, and choose Save to Disk. So from here, what I want to do is I'm still in my social media folder. I'm going to call this, instead of -IG, I'm going to say -FB for Facebook. And I'm going to choose my dimensions here. And what did we say? It was 1200 by 630. And that way we make sure not only the ratio is the same, but our actual pixel dimensions are the same. Again, we'll choose sRGB, JPEG, and a quality of 80. From there, I'll click Save and let that export. And I see that there's a question here. Please add brush and vignette tool in AI. Thank you. Bellaginder, I'm curious why would you want to have the brush tool in the vignette tool? If you need more control over the vignette experience, what I would recommend is, let's go over here to edit, and I'm going to just reset my vignette here. Instead, I'm going to go to my local masking. I'm going to go add in basic, and I'm going to do a radial mask. So I can now draw my radial mask over the face of my dog, adjust this, get the size just right, even I'll make it more oblong. So you can really control a lot of the different qualities of the shape of this. So we'll go ahead and give that the shape of our vignette. And then we can pull down the exposure, and that's darkening up those edges for us and keeping the inside light. Now, what we can do if we want to further modify that, and you say, you know what, I want to spread out a little bit of that lightness around the bottom of the dog, that's where you go up here to Paint Mask. You grab your brush, and I'm going to pull that brush opacity down a bit smaller. And I'm going to make, let's see here, I'm going to change this to an erase because I want to bring back a little bit of the lightness down here. Make my brush size bigger with my bracket keys. And then just ever so slightly brush that in on those areas to widen out and really refine the effect of my manually created vignette. So hopefully that gives you an alternative for using the vignette tool. Use the local masking, use that radial tool, and that's going to give you, I think, the control that you want. I don't see having a masking tool coming to the vignette tool anytime in the near future, but if that is still really important to you and this doesn't fulfill what you're looking for, make sure you reach out to support@skylum.com. Let us know how that would help you in your workflow, and we'll definitely consider it. All right, so hopefully that gives you guys not only an option for doing a manual vignette, but you guys understand how to export your images for social media. Once you have them on your desktop, you just go into that social media platform and you can upload them. They're perfectly sized. They're going to display their best, look great, and you're going to avoid that crushing of your pixels by some algorithm. You get full creative control over how your images look online. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know that you liked it by giving it a thumbs up here on YouTube. We always love seeing that. Our producers love seeing that. If you have any questions or anything else that you would like to learn on a future episode, make sure you pop that into the comments. We always take a look at those and enjoy seeing your responses. With that, I'll turn you loose. I wish you a wonderful rest of the day, and we will see you at the next coffee break. Bye, everyone.